You have reached the Geek Elite. Good luck.
Wanda's father sold DVDs as a trade and even had a Malcolm in the Middle box set in there. That's pretty damn impressive since he was killed by a bomb in 1999 and the show didn't start airing until 2000.
What if you found a portal to a parallel universe? What if you could slide into 1,000 different worlds where it's the same year and you're the same person, but everything else is different? And what if you can't find your way home?
Welcome back for another issue of Imagine If. This week we are going to do a dive into the characters of Monica Rambeau, Photon, Captain Marvel, and Spectrum, all three names of hers, and a little bit of pre-101 for what is White Vision. So, if you've watched the newest episode of WandaVision, then you're right there with us. But first, as always, Chris, we're going to get right into that spinner rack.
Yep, so it's the brand new month of March. May it bring many good tidings of comics to us. And that will all begin on the second Tuesday from DC Comics. So if you head to your local comic shop, you should be able to start seeing the Infinite Frontier Adventures of Batman starting in issue 106. So they have the regular cover, which is very nice, but then they've got the new extended Bat Family cover variant by Jorge Jimenez. I would recommend picking that one up if you can. It definitely shows a lot of the new costume tweaks that we're going to see. Now, something else I find, I don't know, I guess maybe it's me. I'm gonna pick your brain on this, Mitch. How do you feel about Harley Quinn being a member of the Bat family?
I mean, it only seems like the natural evolution of the character as they've made her more of an anti-hero instead of a villain. I don't know if I agree with certain stories where they have Batman and Harley Quinn become a couple, but her being on the team makes, a little bit of sense to me. I'd rather her be her own thing, but if Batman can use Catwoman in the same way, then sure, put Harley Quinn on the team. She's extremely intelligent, obviously knows how to hold her own in a fight. Maybe gives you a little bit more insight into the Joker if you need it.
All right. They're good points. They're good points. I guess I don't know. To me, it's like she's way too vested in the whole Joker scenario. Plus, I don't know. Like, I'm guessing, obviously when James Tynion wrote Joker War, there is a lot of good emphasis to show that Harley is trying her best. And, obviously that's the whole point of all this stuff is redemption and this and that. So I guess I would have rather seen it come from the comic side of instead of like, hey, we're going to make a Birds of Prey movie. No. Let's call it Harley Quinn. Okay. Hey, we're going to make a DC universe. No. Let's call it Harley Quinn. So it's like, yes, I get it. She's exciting. She's blowing up. She's played by a well-renowned actress, but I don't know. It's one of those things where like, and I get it, like comics are absorptive and then they also, spread out as well. So there is a nice feature to that. So I guess it's just me. I just got to get used to it. But I'm like, really? But then again, Clayface was a part of it. I think Detective Comics when the Rebirth era started. And wasn't that James Tynion also who wrote that?
Yep. You're absolutely right.
That's right, Tynion. I'm on to you.
Yeah,
see, he's going to make his own.
Yeah, it's like Batman comics is kind of becoming like X-Men comics where everybody's not a villain. Like, we're all mutants. If you want to be on the good side this time, you can. If you want to fight against us next time, that's okay too.
Yep, exactly. So that's what Tynion's going to do. He's just going to reform the villains one at a time. All right, well, let's see. Moving along, the Crime Syndicate is here. Andy Schmidt and Kieran McCowan and Brian Hitch will all be teaming up to bring us a new version of the Crime Syndicate. They're definitely multiversal. They do homage the fact that they come from Earth 3, but there are going to be some tweaks and differences. So it could be very interesting to see what's going on.
Who do we have on that cover?
Well, you've got Ultraman, Owlman, Superwoman, and I'm not too sure about the other three. I would guess it's Atomica, just because that was the code name they gave her during the Forever Evil New 52 version.
Mm-hmm. Which would be their version of Adam, right?
Yeah. Completely, like, not related to Ray Palmer, but sharing the powers ability. I think the topless guy, I think that's supposed to be their Flash. I don't think he's going to go by Johnny Quick anymore, but I don't know. And then their power ring, their Green Lantern, is definitely going to homage to Jon Stewart. And I think he gave himself a different name. I think he calls himself the Emerald Knight, if I remember correctly. Let's see if I can get some insights here. Nope, they did not list it, but this will be a 6-issue miniseries. And then they will have backup stories. So we are going to get another new origin of Ultraman. So they'll definitely probably be giving us, with the 6 issues, they'll give us that. I do like their timing, though, on DC's part, because right now the Squadron Supreme is doing pretty well at Marvel. So I've always loved the fact that in both universes, they have their own evil-esque versions of the JLA. So I would love one of these days to just see that big throwdown. Ultraman against Hyperion, Owlman against Nighthawk, and all of them. So I think that would be great. So yeah, we'll see. But 6-issue miniseries starting here. Definitely check it out. The Dreaming.
Do you prefer Ultraman that looks like Superman or Ultraman that's blonde with a crew cut?
I personally, I like him that he looks like Superman, because I always love those images, like when you see him flying in and it's like, oh, it's Superman, but then like the light shines and you're like, oh God, it's the Ultraman symbol. Like I just love that he definitely, like, if Superman represents hope, Ultraman represents false hope. It gives you that moment where your heart feels happy, and then here comes the dread.
Okay.
Yep. All right, let's see. Moving along, Dreaming Waking Hours issue 8 will be out. So definitely, if you like to explore that wild part of the DC universe, check that out by G. Willow Wilson. Infinite Frontier issue 0 is here. This is it. This is the DC universe going forward. There will be some changes. There will be some thoughts. There probably will be some anger. I'm taking a sneak peek at it. It's definitely so. The way to look at this book is it's just going to be like how it always is. When they did DC Universe 0 for us to get ready for Blackest Night, when they did Countdown to Infinite Crisis, which set up the whole Infinite Crisis. So this is going to be the little sneak peek pages, so that way you could, wet your beak and see, okay, where do I want to continue on? So this will help shape the next directions for all of the DC universe. Wonder Woman fans definitely pick this up, because Wonder Woman is getting bigger than the DC universe. So we'll definitely see what's going to go on there. Let's see. Man-Bat issue 2 will be out. The Sensational Wonder Woman #1 will be out. And this will collect her digital first adventures in a brand new comic book series. Suicide Squad Volume 6 #1 will be out. It's time to reintroduce the Peacemaker. He will be part of the movie team, so this will definitely be the book that looks to go with that type of flow. But we will have some interesting characters. Yes.
Did they cancel the last Suicide Squad book? Like, we're on to Volume 6 now?
Yes. So I don't say they necessarily canceled it. Like Tom Taylor and Bruno Redondo were actually the creative on that one, and that book was getting a lot of great press. A lot of people are responding to it very nicely. It's the nature of the beast. We have a Suicide Squad movie coming out. Taylor and Redondo's team, you only had Harley Quinn and Deadshot, so we need to get something that looks more in tune with what we're going to show on the movie. So I don't know if you can see on my screen on the cover, we definitely see Bolt and what's his name? Peacemaker. They're going to be there. So this is definitely going to go more in line with probably what's going to happen to the movie. Because as we've talked about before, we've glossed over it. Like Peacemaker, he has a whole 12 appearances, so it's like, wait, what? So we're going to see what happens. This one might tickle your fancy though, because it's going to be definitely more, it's the government's top secret task force of killers, thieves, and criminals. So these are going to be more assassins. So Amanda Waller's back in charge. She's going to send the squad to go recruit Talon from the Court of Owls.
Oh, wow.
And they're also going to be recruiting Superboy. That's right. Connor Kent.
Wait, what?
Gonna get his hands dirty? Yeah.
Is he in jail somewhere?
I have no clue. Maybe he's the hero who comes to respond, or I have no clue why he's going to be part of the Suicide Squad. I know there's probably some clues in the Suicide Squad Future State issues, because if I remember correctly, I think he played a part there. So now we could learn to see why old Con-El is Breaking Bad. So we'll have to see. Swamp Thing will get a relaunch, so issue number 1 will be out. Ram V has done, again, same thing. He did an amazing job in the Future State books. A lot of people really liked it, so he's going to continue on with the Infinite Frontier adventures of Swamp Thing. Now, don't ask me if it's a man thinking it's a swamp, or it's a swamp thinking it's a man. Maybe it's a comic thinking it's a Swamp Thing. I don't know. So you'll have to pick it up and try it out, but I did hear good things about his Future State run. Let's see what else we got. So for the collected editions, Nightwing, the Joker War hardcover will be out. This will collect the last couple of issues of the current volume that crossed over to the Joker War. So if you found yourself not enjoying the adventures of Rick Grayson and you miss good old Dick Grayson, then definitely pick this book up, because this will highlight Rick's transformation into the returning Dick Grayson, and then eventually the return of Nightwing proper. This next book that I'm going to talk about is a huge one. I love it. I think, Mitch, you've read this one too. Superman and Batman Generations. This, honestly, I remember going to Diane's store, FanQuest, over here in Yuma, Arizona, and I think it was one of those, she had one of those buy one, get one frees or something like that. And luckily she had all 4 parts to the first Generations. I was like, hey, cool. It's a number 1. It's Superman. It's Batman. And I've got the whole story. Yay. And I bought it. And this was like superhero soap opera. I mean, talk about just everything. I mean, we get to see Batman age in real time, start a family. Superman age in real time, start a family with Lois. The children of Superman, the fact that one of them has powers and the other doesn't. The seduction of Lex Luthor. I mean, just all this was crazy, and it was a beautiful story, and it tied together. I was just enamored with it. And plus, it was really exciting to learn later on that this tied into a Batman Captain America one-shot that John Byrne had done as well. So this omnibus will do you the favor of collecting all 3 series. Superman and Batman Generations 1, 2, and 3. Superman Batman Generations 1 and 2 made one made a 10-year jump. So it started in oh gosh, what was it? I think it was 1939, and then it would go 49, 59, 69, and so on. When they did the sequel, Generations 2, they made 11-year jumps, and they did feature more of Wonder Woman and the JSA. Because in that one, I love the fact that now the Teen Titans were more like JSA Junior. So I was like, oh, that's pretty sweet. And then when they did Generations Volume 3, that one got crazy, because that one became a 12-issue series, and it dealt with the multiverse and dark side. So some crazy stuff there, but well worth it. I have all the issues. I'm not going to lie. I think I might try to pick up this omnibus as well.
Yeah, I have all the issues of that too. And I do remember loving it. And I remember really enjoying that last issue of the third year, where it's the first Superman Batman story and then the last Superman Batman story.
Yeah.
Batman dresses himself up, or I'm sorry, young Bruce Wayne before his parents are killed. I believe is in Smallville for a circus, probably like the Haley Circus, and he dresses up like Robin. Is that not correct?
Well, okay, so you're close. So the Wayne Foundation is doing a young writers competition. So that's what attracts Clark Kent and a young Lois Lane.
Yep.
And Clark Kent at this point is still Superboy. And so a young Bruce Wayne wants to get in on the action. And he also puts himself in a costume. Now, I can't remember if he went straight to Robin or if he did the Flying Fox, because I do remember that being a part of it, too.
I could have sworn I remember being Robin, but, I mean, it's been a while since I read those issues.
Yeah.
But then you had the gray-haired Superman and Bruce Wayne in a spaceship, and they're flying in outer space, and Bruce is talking about, I had to use the Lazarus Pit again. And Bruce and Clark is talking about, the older I get, it's almost like I age even slower, almost to the point where I might be aging backwards. So,
but that was just an amazing series. I loved it. Again, another book that sparked why we do what we do right here. Like, just amazing stuff. So definitely do yourself a favor, pick it up. Now, this is one I hope you can see it on my screen. So DC's been doing a lot of these little digest editions of their animated series. So they have one called Superman Adventures, Lex Luthor, Man of Metropolis. And I love this one because we see, you asked about, would you rather a dark-haired version or a blonde-haired version of an evil Superman? This one throws another one at us. How about a white-haired version of Superman? So this one's complete opposites. Where it's red, it's blue. Where it's blue, it's red. And, the opposite of black hair would be white hair. So there you go. So definitely pick these up. They are fun. The animated series comic book tie-ins were wonderful. I have a special place in my heart for them. So I would definitely share those with you. All right. So that will all be Tuesday from DC Comics. Now, if you come back to the LCS on Wednesday the 3rd, let's see what we've got. From Marvel, we have Amazing Spider-Man issue 58 getting a second printing variant. America Chavez will be back. Made in the USA #1 will be her brand new series. I know there's been a lot of talk about her character. So with this, like either ongoing series or mini series happening, that's definitely probably going to lend itself very nicely to her eventually being featured in either animation or television. So we'll have to keep an eye out.
Yeah, I know that there was talks, and I don't remember which show it was, but some actress being hired or cast. Obviously, they didn't give out her name, but a lot of speculation was that she was being hired to play America Chavez, which I could definitely see as bringing her into the MCU and helping round out the Young Avengers that is most likely going to be getting made here soon.
Yeah, definitely, because she was probably I don't know how to consider their iterations of the team, but I could say at least I think in the Volume 3 book she did play a part there. So
okay.
Yeah, definitely be another sneak attack from the Young Avengers. Well, let's see. If you like mechs and you want to see the Avengers just break stuff, definitely pick up Avengers Mech Strike #2 to see your favorite superheroes pilot giant mechs of themselves fighting giant monsters.
Okay, like I'm usually here for all the comic books and stuff, but like this just seems ridiculous. Like no one needs to see the Hulk inside of a Hulk mech. Like that doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, no, this is I wouldn't be surprised if you're going to see some toys coming out of Hasbro here pretty soon.
Yeah.
Well, let's see. All right. Avengers issue 43 will be out. This continues the Enter the Phoenix. So as the Avengers try to hold off the Phoenix Force and try to figure out who the new Phoenix will be, that'll be something else. But definitely one of the ups. Oh, go ahead.
No, go ahead. Finish.
I was going to say, I think one of the best things about this, though, are the variant covers. We know She-Hulk is definitely going to get featured here. So there is a Women's History Month cover done by Jen Bartel. Looks beautiful. I love the coloring on this. The greens and purples and the white just mesh perfectly. So I would highly recommend that, just because I know She-Hulk is slated for her own show. And then we also have Michael Cho bringing in his very two-toned Silver Age style over to the Marvel Universe. So we get to see him do a nice duet piece of Ant-Man and Wasp in their classic 1960s costumes. But go ahead, what you got?
I was just going to say, it just seems like we've been talking about this return of the Phoenix Force storyline forever. So are you saying it's finally coming to an end?
I don't know if I can say it's finally coming to an end. Let's see. Let me pull up some data on this, because I think if I caught one of those covers correctly, this is just part 4. So obviously, with it being a monthly book, it'll be we're 4 months deep into it. Stories are usually typically 5 and 6 parters. So yeah, this is part 4. I think we've probably got one more month of it. Now, here's the crazy stuff, because I don't know if you've been keeping in touch with this one. I've been following it tangentially. I think they're making a claim that the Phoenix actually might be Thor's mom. And not just because Odin loves to sleep around. No, this might actually be his mother. So
Frigga.
Take that, Viking history. So there's going to be some crazy changes. And then obviously at the end of this, the Phoenix has the ability to change reality, wash away what doesn't work in favor of what should work. And I think this is what's probably going to lead us to why we have the Squadron Supreme event that'll be happening, where the Squadron Supreme have been the Marvel Universe's premier go-to heroes in a world without Avengers, aka the newest Heroes Reborn.
If you could throw one Squadron Supreme character onto the Avengers, which one of the characters would you want it to be?
Well, that's tough. I've seen Nighthawk, in the earliest iterations, be played the best. When John Hickman was writing the Avengers, he made Hyperion basically just be Kingdom Come Superman and travel with the Avengers, which was fun. So I guess, obviously, I'm a Green Lantern fan, so I want to see something with Dr. Spectrum. I want to see him be a worthwhile character. Maybe you play it up as he is just, here's Hal Jordan in the Marvel Universe, or you play it up with the fact that here's a power source that controls the man while the man tries to control the power. So I think it's time for... Go ahead.
You know what that made me think? Because you remember when Janice Vell was tramping around as Captain Marvel, I think. Yeah. Well, you had Carol take away the Captain Marvel name from Monica Rambeau, and then you had Janice Vell come in and take the name of Photon away from Monica Rambeau. If you had Dr. Spectrum come in and be like, hey, you can't call yourself Spectrum, that's my thing. She's going to have to get another name again altogether.
Oh, that's a good point. Yeah, it's funny, actually. We'll talk about that more as we do our 101. But yeah, it's like Monica she's basically renaming the Marvel Universe, because everybody's like, that's a pretty cool name. I think I want it. Yeah, so definitely some features there. All right, but regardless of what we may think of this story, at least it's making those beautiful variant covers. There's actually another one in case you are still collecting the Alex Ross Timeless variant covers. Issue 43 will feature the classic Vision, and then there's one more in case you wanted it. Javier Garron will feature his designed variants, so we get to see Shang-Chi, Zabu, and Shana the She-Devil as potential Phoenix bearers. So in case you didn't want it, it's still there anyways. Oh, and I'm sorry. Okay, no, wait, sorry. Okay, and then obviously you could get the Alex Ross Timeless sketch cover variant, but I wouldn't recommend it. Those are going to be crazy insanely priced. All right, so getting out of the Avengers and moving along, Daredevil issue 26 gets a second printing, which features a beautiful rendering of Elektra as Daredevil. I love the attention to detail in her weapons. So Elektra is famous for using her size, but as her being Daredevil, she obviously can't kill people. So if you actually look at her size, you can see that the tips have been de-sharpened, flattened out. So these are actually more in tune with like Daredevil's Eskrima sticks and Elektra's size being merged together. So I thought that was so cool. And I love that. I think this is Ryan Stegman art. So I love the fact that he did that as well. Demon Days X-Men will get a one shot, and this is a big one because I've been hearing about this writer artist Peach Momoko. I don't know much about them, but I know there's definitely a big push here. So if you want to see, I think the main character feature will be. This is tough because is it Psylocke or is it Betsy Bratton? Because it could be one or the other.
Because
let's just give you the full thing. So a wandering sword. Oh, go ahead.
Oh no, go you go with the description.
So with the description here, Peach Momoko is one of the Stormbreakers, which is going to be one of the newest featured artists coming out of Marvel Comics. So the solicit says a wandering swordswoman with a psychic blade arrives at a village that's being targeted by demons. One demon is black and white with a terrifying red tongue, and another may be the strongest demon there is. In the stunning kickoff issue of the Prestige Quarterly story, you'll see a revolutionary reimagining of the Marvel Universe that could only come from Peach Momoko. Ready your katana and enter a mysterious world of demons, monsters, mutants, and magic. Book 1 of 5 of the Demon Days saga. So my guess is this is probably Betty Badrick. Oh my God, I can't think of their name. Betsy Badrick. So I think that's probably going to be her. Yeah. Traveling through this story arc.
Because I thought Betsy Braddock went back to her English body, and then the what was it? Her name
Katana. Kawanin. Kawanin took over her. Yes, but keep in mind this story is probably like a what if style. You know, so it's just, like, hey, they want to reimagine the Marvel Universe. This definitely fits in line with Peach's art style. Definitely go for it. So if you want to see a mystical, Asian-influenced Marvel Universe, definitely check these out. I love the fact that the black and white demon with the red tongue is definitely Venom. And I'm trying to think, I guess, and then another may be the strongest demon there is. So maybe we're going to see a Hulk.
Oh, yeah.
That could be exciting. So definitely check that out. I really have a good feeling about that one. I know Marvel's definitely touting it out themselves. So definitely, give it a shot. Plenty of variant covers to choose from. I always prefer to stick with the original artist one, but definitely see what's out there. Hellions issue 10 will be out. King in Black Captain America will be out. So if you want to see how Steve Rogers, Sam Wilson, and Bucky Barnes deal with these crazy symbiotes storming Earth, definitely check this one out. What else do we have? Then, that's got quite a few variants. Then King in Black Gwenom versus Carnage issue 3 will be out, tying into the big King in Black story arc as well. King in Black Handbook number 1 will be out. It's weird. This is how much of a nerd I can tell I am. I'm excited about a handbook coming out.
I mean, handbooks are great.
Yes, thank you. Finally, some respect. But it's funny because the only reason I really got into King in Black is because of death metal. I don't know. Like at first I was like, man, I don't really care for this. I don't need DC Anthrax and Metallica comics. But as as death metal moved on, it clearly was like, oh yeah, this is the big crisis. This is the big changing of the guard. And it's funny because death metal did a guidebook or a handbook as well, but it really wasn't. It was just like, here's stories that we're going to staple together and call it a book. So they tricked me, but it was too late because I already got it. So I was like, you bastards. But now we have a King in Black handbook coming, and I hope they don't do that to me. But my problem with both, well, no, just I can't think of the word. Just the split sharing of the two universes is like I just have to get them both. So this is a book that I'm definitely going to be suckered into getting. So we shall see what it is. But the Thunderbolts will be tying into King in Black as well. Issue 3 of their miniseries is coming out by Matthew Rosenberg. Now, this is going to be a big one, folks. I highly recommend, if you haven't already gotten one, get one. King in Black, Wiccan, and Hulkling one-shot. So this is going to be a big one. Tini Howard will be taking the next step with Billy and Hulkling as they are basically the emperors of space. So this is going to be some wild stuff because they married in Empire. And Hulkling, I can't think of his name. What was his secret identity name?
Teddy.
There we go. Teddy. It was just right there. So Teddy is the be-all, end-all when it comes to stuff. So let's check out this solicit. No time to celebrate. Wiccan and Hulkling are freshly off the marriage altar and overdue for a proper celebration. So when the Shi'ar invite them for an all-expenses-paid vacation at their glitziest beach resort, you know Wiccan's already got their bags packed. But they'll have to hold the champagne because Noel and his symbiote army are expanding across the galaxy. Tini Howard and Luciano Vecchio give everyone's favorite young Avengers a honeymoon to die for. So I know from the solicit it sounds kind of goofy, but I do know like in the next issue of Guardians of the Galaxy, they're going to be setting up this is where all of space will like align and come to whatever the next story is going to be. So I definitely think this is going to have a hand in that. So I'd say definitely check it out.
And definitely goes into what we talked about last week, trying to figure out where it is they were at, the two of them were at.
Yeah, so this will definitely be something else. Let's see. Power Pack issue 4 will be out. Runaways issue 34 will be out. And I just have to say much love to Chris Anka for this cover because we finally see the chonky, short, hairy Wolverine that we all forgot about. That's right. Yes, Hugh Jackman is dreamy, but Wolverine is something else too. So I'm glad to have this cover existing just so people can be reminded of what Wolverine used to look like.
That's a Runaways book. I assume that's supposed to be Princess Powerful. I forget what her real name is, but she's definitely grown up in the years through Runaways then, if she's taller than Wolverine now.
Yeah, no, they're starting to age up their characters, which I always find funny because it's like, I remember when Kitty Pryde was a, bratty young girl and then Wolverine trained her. Now she's a grown woman. Then Jubilee was the next bratty young girl, and now she's a grown woman. She was even, she was a baby mama to a child, and it's funny to see these characters grow up, yet Wolverine is still the same age.
I mean, he's got that healing factor.
He at least does. Yeah, exactly. That's the good reason to explain.
And he, last time I was reading X-Men comics, he was training Armor. So I wonder if she's now a grown woman.
Yeah, right. She's going to be, she's off and doing her own job now. All right, well, let's see. Let's get to the collected editions. Amazing Spider-Man by Nick Spencer, Volume 11, Last Remains will be out. This contains issues from the never-ending story where Nick Spencer teases us about one more day and one more moment in time. I'm tired of it, so hurry up, Nick. Captain America Epic Collection, Volume 1, Captain America Lives Again, will be reprinted. I highly recommend this one. If you think you know Captain America, then read these issues and really find out if you agree or not. This is when Stan and Jack decided, hey, let's bring the guy back and let's give him his own adventures. And this definitely set up the Man Out of Time. So they're great classic stories. And I'm glad to see that book is collected again. Dr. Doom Volume 2 by Christopher Cantwell and Salvador Larroca is out. Amazing story and beautiful art. It doesn't get better than that. Maestro, Symphony and a Gamma Key. Peter David continues the milking of Maestro, so if you want to see what's going on with that, check it out as well. Savage Avengers, The Team That Shouldn't Be But Is, Volume 3, Enter the Dragon will be out. X of Swords is finally collected in a hardcover. I think this book has almost 50 comics in it. Like, the fact that they didn't call it an omnibus is insane. I'll admit I did not have the stamina to read all the parts of X of Swords. We'll have to go to Rafa for that because I think he managed to pull it off. From what I did read, I enjoyed. I do like the fact that Hickman and company do a great job of saying, okay, if I want to read just X Factor, I can read just X Factor. It'll tie into the big story, but it'll keep the plot lines going. Now, if I want to read everything, then I get a nice tapestry of everything. So I just love the fact that they're really doing awesome with that. And just to round it out, X-Men Epic Collection Volume 7, The Fate of the Phoenix. This collects Chris Claremont's and John Byrne's famous Phoenix, the Dark Phoenix saga, as it came to a mind-blowing conclusion. So that's what's going to be on your spinner racks this week.
That's a pretty full spinner rack. So thanks for that. Let's get right into talking about WandaVision episode 8, the penultimate episode, previously on. What'd you think of this episode? I mean, we came off of last week's episode enjoying the show still, but just thinking, no, it wasn't much of an episode. This one was very much all flashbacks, or even if you want to call it a clip episode. Like, you got a clip episode from stuff that we
episode 4
about.
I think, right?
Well, I mean, yeah, you got some stuff from episode 4, but like we got the origin, quote unquote origin of Agatha. We got a more fleshed out origin for Wanda and how she is so powerful now. Like, that was the whole thing, is Agatha being a witch who stole power from the rest of the witches in her coven back during the Salem witch trials in 18 blah blah blah, as we saw in the episode. Even her mother, she wants to know how it is that Wanda is such a powerful witch who can create a whole illusion, take over a whole town, use puppetry, transmutation, all these things at a whim, when it took her years of learning and studying just to change a horsefly, into a bird kind of thing. Like, she is amazed by the ability that Wanda possesses, and then also amazed that there are certain things that she just doesn't even know, like the runes. If you walk into a room that is covered in runes, that only the witch who put the runes up can do magic, not any other being, magic user.
No, it was definitely so. I guess for me, for the episode, because you're right, like last episode, it was like, okay, this was good. I think like that one, I think that's where our comic bookness kind of was like, okay, well, it confirmed what we already knew, so we felt good watching it. This last one, I guess for me, so, and again, this is where I have to turn off my comic book fan, because as I know the origins of Wanda Maximoff from the comics, I look at those things and I try to compare whatnot. So I definitely turned off my comic book brain and I just absorbed the episode. It was a good episode. I mean, like, it really tugs at your heartstrings. I feel so bad for Wanda because of all the just torment that she goes through for her life. So that was crazy to see. It was interesting to see. I can't think of her first name, but Han.
Catherine Hahn.
Is it Jennifer Hahn?
Catherine.
What was it? Catherine. There we go. Catherine Hahn. It was very interesting to see her play a villain, and I mean, whether or not, because obviously the comic book hero Agatha is a hero. So maybe she will be a hero, maybe she won't. We'll see. But it was really interesting, though, to see the actress play the part of the villain, and then just kind of learn all the new things that came about it. So I enjoyed the episode more than last episode, and it did a good job of setting me up for excitement for the next episode. And then from the comic book side of things, there were two major scenes that I loved that I'm so glad that I got to see on the screen. So I'm super excited about that. And I don't know if we should talk about them now or if we'll wait for as we go through our Easter eggs.
No, let's go ahead and talk about it now. I assume you're talking about our mid-credit scene.
Well, that's definitely one of them. So yes, at the mid-credit scene when we see the Vision's body be rebuilt and then repowered by the Wanda magic, the emerald hues that come out, or sorry, not emerald, but the scarlet hues that came off the drone, that's used to power up the next Vision. And then we see him in a basically Vision in a colorless version of himself. So that's where he appears all white. I thought that was cool because I do remember during the Vision quest, and I can't remember the issue number, but you were just sharing some images there where the cover homages the first appearance of the Vision, but in his all new white costume. So that was exciting to see that. I know there had been hints to it, like when you see Vision die, quote unquote, in Infinity War, like he did start losing color. So it was definitely hinted at there. And I love to buy these bootleg Lego figures. So they were already selling an all white Vision, you know, so I was like, oh, it's probably going to happen. This is awesome. So to finally see it was really cool. And then the second one was just the fact that when Wanda does go into the sword facility and they do show her, like, here you go, here's the Vision. And he's all disassembled and laid out. I was just blown away by that because that was an epic, like, I had never read Vision Quest until probably like maybe 6 months ago, but I had always known of that image. So it was amazing to have read it and now see it on the screen. So those two were just awesome.
According to a thing that I'm looking at is that scene where the body is disassembled like that is directly out of West Coast Avengers 43 going into 44.
Yep, that is correct.
You got Mockingbird showing Wanda, the Vision's body all disassembled like that. So that's interesting. Mockingbird.
Because sadly, Mockingbird is the reason why. Because if you're interested, I can give you. I'll start the clock for 5 minutes. Let me see if I can do this in 5 minutes. But Avengers West Coast, basically, Hawkeye is tired of playing second fiddle. So he opens up his own Avengers shop over on the West Coast side of things. Obviously, Mockingbird goes with him because that's her husband. As the adventures continue, Hawkeye is just a jerk. Let's put it plain and simple. He's pushing Bobby away, and things are going horrible. She is brutally attacked by an evil version of the Phantom Rider, to the point where she's like practically raped. So at one point, she's able to challenge the Phantom Rider, which leads to him dying. So Hawkeye couldn't forgive her for that. So they basically split up. A rogue team of S.H.I.E.L.D. agents comes to her and is basically like, look, you were a S.H.I.E.L.D. agent before you were a superhero. We need your help. So they convince her to help them make protocols for how could they break into the Avengers facility. How could they distract the Avengers? How could they shut them down if need be? So she helps them because this is a just-in-case emergency style situation. But as it turns out, this is not S.H.I.E.L.D. agents. This is a world government organization. So all the nations came together because they honestly wanted to shut down the Vision. So they have Mockingbird help set up the plans. She sets it up thinking that it's just in case of an emergency. The team actually winds up using the plans to distract the Avengers, infiltrate their facility, kidnap the Vision, and disassemble and shut him down. So once Mockingbird puts the pieces together, she goes to the Avengers, and she has to be the one to tell them the sad news, and she's the one who actually winds up taking Wanda to the facility to see her disassembled husband. Clock me. Did I do it?
You get it in under 2 minutes.
Hey, take that, BuzzFeed.
So, yeah, we got to see, and that's a very important scene in WandaVision because what we saw previously that Director Hayward showed us was that Wanda busted into the sword facility and stole the body of the Vision and then went straight to Westview. However, what we see in reality is that she walked into his office. He was like, hey, this is what you wanted to see. She floats down to the body, like tries to sense if Vision is inside of there. Because you got to remember, this is her coming back after 5 years. Like the last thing she saw was Thanos taking the Mind Stone out of Vision's head, and then she blipped away. So she comes back and she wants to see the body of her husband because I'm guessing they got married at some point between Civil War and Infinity War. Yeah. So they would be. He lied. He showed footage to Monica and Jimmy saying that he went in there and she went in there and stole the body, but she didn't. We now know that he kept the body, and I guess within the week time span that it was that scene and the scene of seeing the white Vision body, they've repaired the body, put it back together, and turned it white, which I don't understand why they would turn it white, but or maybe just like when the body got put back together, it just turned white on its own because it's still a AI.
Well, the thing is, so it's funny because the way the Vision gets played out. So technically, now if we go from a comic book standpoint, so he's actually all red. He's an all red body, though yellow and green is his superhero costume that he wears. And we've seen that when he gets, like he can literally take his little diamond hoodie piece off and like, boom, it's a big red head. Now, when he was disassembled in the West Coast Avengers and reassembled, like he literally walked around naked. Like he was just a white body naked. And then the Avengers, US agent was like, put some clothes on, be decent, because he's very much trapped in the, crew cut style American Pie mode. And, so it's like, don't be showing your shame to everybody. But the Vision explained it as like, in order to keep those pigmentations going, that requires energy. Why expel energy for a non-essential need? So I think that's what's going on. Like, I don't think they like spray painted him. I just kind of feel like it's like if Vision, like literally, if he had an on and off switch, if you shifted it to off, he would just kind of like, you'd probably hear that hum power down and you'd see the colors fade from him.
Yeah. If you remember from Age of Ultron, when he was created in the MCU, the movies, when he first wakes up, he is definitely in an all red body, like mostly red body. Like that goes along with what you're saying in the comic books. It's not till he meets up with Thor when he's like, oh, capes. Okay. Let me, like he gets himself a cape. He gets on a costume kind of thing. It's not the traditional green and yellow one that we see from the comic books, but it's a close facsimile with the version of the Marvel universe, the Marvel Cinematic Universe. It's not until obviously WandaVision, when we get to the spooktacular Halloween episode, where we get to see a version of that costume.
So yeah, definitely. So there's a lot of good play with it. I think that's neat. So that's what I'm hoping they use to explain it. So that'll be kind of interesting to see, like, okay, how does this play out?
We definitely got to see where Wanda gets her sitcom love from. We see that her father was selling DVDs in Sokovia, like war-stricken Sokovia. He was. She was a big fan of the Dick Van Dyke Show, so that's the reason why we started off in the 1950s that we did. While she was also being held or experimented on at Hydra, she was watching sitcoms there too. So it helps paint the picture that is Wanda. Now, I think one of the biggest changes that we have just from the MCU happens at the Hydra facility, because the way that we saw it at the end, in the end credit scene of, I don't remember what movie it was, that we saw Baron Strucker and the twins. Do you remember? Was it
Winter Soldier? I think.
Was it Winter Soldier? I can't remember. But at the end of that, the two of them are inside of cages, but this shows Wanda, walking in a lot more voluntarily into a room to be experimented on, while the Scepter is also in the room. Now, we know that the Scepter has the Mind Stone inside of it, and the Mind Stone is also what created or brought to life Vision. So they already have that connection. And I guess, as this episode is pointing out, that Wanda already had powers. The bomb in the apartment was definitely going to go off, but because of her inherent latent, if we want to say mutant ability, or
it's mutant.
mutant ability, or her natural attachment to the magic in this world is which is going to be difficult because Marvel Comics themselves has jumped around with Wanda on whether or not she's all mutant or all magic. Am I incorrect?
Oh, you're right. They've definitely played with it because it goes back and forth with, is Magneto her daddy or not?
Yeah.
You know, I use the word daddy because I'm hoping that oh my God, I lost his name now, but
Michael
Mr. Mohawk.
Fassbender? Oh.
No. Yondu. I'm hoping Yondu is her daddy at one point. We're just gonna go crazy. Let's go full on. But so no, you're definitely right. They've jumped back and forth with the idea that she's either tied into the mutant world or she is just able to channel the magics naturally because of what she is and what she can be. So yeah, but it's mutant powers.
Agatha straight up says you did a probability hex, which goes directly back to her origin or old days of being in comic books, right? Of Wanda being her hex bolts, her changing the probability so that she can, her hex abilities. The Mind Stone essentially amps up her abilities that she already has. It presents itself to her and then, makes it so that she's a lot more powerful than she was at that moment. Or before that moment. Now, my question is that what happened when Pietro went in that room? Because obviously he also got powers. Were they because of the Mind Stone? Were they because of Wanda? Did Wanda essentially share her power to grant him super speed? Because I would honestly would like to know how that went. And then
that would be a good scene to show because, why magic and speed, they're not normally associated with each other. So that would be interesting. Did Wanda bestow it upon him in the MCU? And then that's why he's so protective of her? Who knows?
Yeah, that's a possibility. And then as we see after she leaves the sword facility, as she has a card or an envelope on her seat. It's been opened. So you have to assume that she'd seen it already. She drives to the city of Westview, which is very much dilapidated and in a downtrodden way. Obviously, they were hit hard by the blip. There is a house that we have to presume at this point Vision bought for them before he died. It hasn't been built yet, but it is a plot and the foundation is there. And she has a breakdown. She is full on. This was the house she was going to spend her life with Vision in. And once again, someone close to her died and her home is gone. So she uses all of her powers to create a world where she's happy. And it happens to look like sitcoms. While building this house, a vision comes out of her, a version of Vision. So in earlier episodes, when we thought that she was using the body, the dead body to as a puppet, we now know that this is a vision that straight up came out of her, which makes sense because of the Mind Stone connection between the two of them.
I definitely agree with that. So that makes it real interesting. What is Hayward really looking for?
And that was the other thing. As we know, when it was Monica's idea to send a drone in there, a Stark drone from the 80s, Wanda grabbed it out of the air, took it down, took it back out of the hex, threw it back at them and said, keep your crap out of my city. It was imbued with Scarlet Witch powers. And that was the jump start they needed to power the new Vision back up using Wanda's powers. I thought the other interesting thing that happened with Agatha is that when she finally figures out what it is that Wanda is, because she's not a quote-unquote classically trained witch, she is what she is calling a master of the chaos magic, a Scarlet Witch. Now, we saw earlier on when Agatha's mother was trying to take her out, when she got powerful enough, she got a crown around her head that was very much a blue crown in the same shape of the crown that we usually see in the comic books Wanda wear. We even saw it as Wanda wore it as the Sokovian fortune teller costume in the Halloween episode. So that plus when she was inside the Mind Stone, like the Mind Stone showed a version of her wearing the crown, kind of a silhouette and her long cape, so to speak. She is the one that names her the Scarlet Witch. Agatha names her the Scarlet Witch, which is very important because earlier in the series, you had Hayward make it a point to say that she never had a code name. So we now know that Wanda is Scarlet Witch, and it means something different here.
Yeah. No, I think that was that was an interesting insertion. I myself, so kind of stepping back, like, it was funny because when Wanda is exposed to the Mind Stone and things go yellow and she sees the Scarlet Witch outline approaching her, I just had this like Phoenix vibe.
Oh, it very much has a Phoenix vibe. Yeah, you're absolutely correct.
I'm very curious, like, is that what this is? Like, there's the Scarlet Witch is out there and it's a title and a legacy type of thing. So I'm very curious to see how they elaborate on that a little bit more.
Yeah, she definitely says you're not a thing that's supposed to exist. You're a myth. Like it's just something that witches tell other witches. So it's the Scarlet Witch was essentially a prophecy, and Wanda is here to fulfill it. So as we see, Agatha has the twins, hostage, so to speak. We have to find out in the last episode what is going to happen, and there is a lot to tie up in this last episode, because last time we saw Monica, she was being confronted by Pietro, or as Agatha called them, Pietro, fake Pietro. All that, her story has to be cleared up. Jimmy and Darcy's story has to be cleared up. Vision's story has to be cleared up. Hayward's story has to be cleared up. And of course, Wanda's story has to be cleared up. Like, there's a lot to be done in the last hour of this show.
That's assuming we get a real hour.
It's assuming we get a real hour. And the rumor was, and I could have sworn that Feige actually said it, but at this point, I have no idea who said what actually anymore. Doctor Strange is supposed to show up, or at least he's supposed to tie into WandaVision in some way. So do we get Doctor Strange, who should be here because this is a very big magical, thing that's happening, and he's supposed to be the Sorcerer Supreme. He's supposed to be protecting the Earth from magic. If he's in New York and this is New Jersey, it's not that far away.
Yeah, it's like, hey, there's a fire going on. We'll get to it. No problem. Come on, Steven.
What are some of the big things that you enjoyed about this episode?
So I enjoyed getting to see Agatha's new origin. I enjoyed Wanda's origin. God, it was so heartbreaking, man. I mean, that her Sokovian family, like, props to the actors, props to the writers, because I fell in love with them. I was like, oh my God, those kids were so cute. They were so wide-eyed and joyful. And when that bomb hit, oh my God, I was like, no, damn, that scene just emotionally latched onto my heart. I was like, wow, this was something else. So going through, It's a Wonderful Life with Wanda, just seeing all that stuff was intense. I do like getting to see, the little bit of courtship there with Wanda and Vision. I thought that was really neat. Going into the letter, though, I don't think that's from Vision. I really don't. Like, I feel like she probably went into that agency, and then all of a sudden when she walked out of there peacefully, I feel like that letter was planted there, because she didn't look at it per se like, it kind of like, I don't know, maybe it was just me hoping, but I feel like that was like, what's this? So she opens it, and obviously she follows the trail because, with that heart and V, she's probably thinking, oh, this is from Vision. So I feel like they set her up to go there. This is probably Hayward and Sword. So they set her up to go there. Now, whether or not Sword is evil, I don't think Sword is evil. I just think Haywood is evil and he's controlling it. One thing I did find interesting, though, was when Wanda does go to the land plot, and she kind of just has that emotional yell or scream and her powers manifest. I found it interesting that it was near her heart. Obviously her two hands flare up, but her heart also flares up as well.
Good
so
eye.
I'm curious, like, is that like why her heart, because that's never been a case. So I thought that was very interesting. So, I mean, the heart's desire, what the heart wants, those are definitely some big tropes. So I'm very curious about that. And it sets up some good stuff, but you're right, as you were saying that earlier, where it's like, there's a lot. Like, we did not see Monica this episode. We didn't see Pietro this episode. And even with Pietro, that is a weird thing. Like, well, okay, so wait a second, because it kind of sounded like Agatha was like, oh, well, your brother was buried far away, so I couldn't get to his body. Yet, did you get to a body that happens to look like the actor from X-Men, or was it just easier to dip into the multiverse and grab that Quicksilver? Like, I don't know. So, I mean, is it like... Go ahead.
From what I understand from what she said in the episode, and I'm not going off anything else, yes, it was the real Pietro body was over in Sokovia. Hard to get to, plus necromancy is very difficult, so bringing a dead body back to life, and the dead body is full of holes. From what it sounded like, she just created the fake Pietro out of nothing, like just straight up created a fake body, and it was her eyes and ears inside that body. However, that does bring up an interesting question, like, why does the fake body look like the Pietro or Peter from the Fox universe? Is that because, is that just simply above board trolling, or is that mean something more? Like, is she tapped into the multiverse and got that image for a reason?
Exactly. Because if they decide to get like, hey, we really like Evan Peters, all right, cool. Then I'll just say he was the kid from The Office who got spanked by Michael Scott. Okay. But I specifically, that. So, that is Kevin Feige is the real villain. He's so evil.
He's the real mastermind. It was Kevin Feige all along.
There we go. We need to work on that song.
I find something very interesting that what's his name? Paul Bettany had for the longest time been like telling people that the big cameo or the big character that's going to show up in the last episode is going to be someone that he hasn't worked with yet, and he is very excited to work with. And I'm guessing it's going to be him, like himself, like. Because there's going to be two visions on screen, right? There's going to be the vision that Wanda created, and there's the vision that is all white suit vision. So at one point, the two of them are going to have to face off against each other, which I assume, if we're going to get the super happy ending, the vision that Wanda created, which is a manifestation of the Mind Stone or Mind Stone power, is going to merge into the white vision, and we'll get our vision back, or Wanda's vision back, I should say. How do you feel about that?
No, I definitely see. So it's funny because I remember reading somewhere or catching something. They definitely said, whatever they do a Marvel production, they sit down and watch Superman the movie because it captures a lot of things. And both companies, they homage each other, they steal from each other, all that fun stuff. So I can definitely, I feel we're going to get that Superman 3 moment with drunk evil Superman fighting hopeless Clark Kent. And so if Paul Bettany is teasing us that way, like you just said, where it's like, oh, I got to work with me, that's going to be funny because we could see, the white vision is the evil drunk Superman, and the Wanda's memories is the Clark Kent, and the two will clearly merge together, and we will get Vision back. So I think that's going to be interesting. I'm excited because it restores a character the MCU. I'm always up for more heroes. I love that. The more, the merrier. So I still have hope that it could be another actor. I really hope it's God, I can't think of his name. The rookie. Just because I want my Wonder Man. Yep, I just want my Wonder Man so bad. So I keep having hopes for that, but I definitely can see that. Yep, exactly what you're talking about. It'll lead to, kind of even what we're going to talk about here in our 101. But I could definitely see it leading to the return of the Vision in the MCU. So I'm that alone is an awesome thing to think about.
Well, I can't wait to talk to you about the last episode of WandaVision next week. But let's get right into that 101 of the White Vision. Like, there's, as you said, there's not much to say there from what we've already said. But being introduced in what year was the West Coast Avengers run?
Oh gosh, it was either 87 or 86 when that did happen.
And that's a creation of John Burns.
Yes. So let's see. Here we go. Okay, so Vision Quest ran through West Coast Avengers, because the book did go both ways. So Vision Quest takes place in West Coast Avengers issues 42 through 45 back in March, June of 89. So that's when that happened. And John Byrne was the writer penciler of that one. And basically he took it upon himself because he didn't like the idea that the Vision was the Golden Age Human Torch. He felt that both characters should be separated. That way we get more instead of just absorbed. So that's kind of the origins behind the story. Sadly, it also led to the destruction of the baby twins that they had and Vision's personality. But yeah, that's where that comes from, the story arc there.
And I mean, how long did he last in the white suit?
Well, long enough to get a video game. Let's see. He makes it all the way up to, because he kept that white costume, and it lasted all the way till basically right around, 1993. So when we have the first appearance of a new character, Anti-Vision, in February of 93, that brings us to the a variation of the green, yellow, and red costume. But yeah, so that suit lasted a good 4 or 5 years.
Wow. Okay. What was any of his powers different as the white suit Vision?
I would say, if anything, the powers should be exactly the same because the body is rebuilt. The inhibitions would probably be wider just because this newly reformed White Vision doesn't have the mind, memories, or emotions that he previously had. So he might not feel as compelled to either not do or do something as he would have felt before. And
this is a direct result of him losing the life stone, right? That's what the thing in his head was?
Well, so in the comics, that gem in his head is just it's a solar crystal. So it's basically what helps the power. Yeah. So it could be considered like, oh, that's his memory bank or whatnot. But it's
definitely not an Infinity Stone.
It's not an Infinity Stone. It's not a Marvel relic or something of that fact. It's just either a power source or maybe a fancy, USB memory stick if Vision runs off USB.
Well, or like the idea of a solar panel, like it absorbs solar energy and powers the rest of his body. Like I get that. Is there any important stories that we need to know about with the white suit Venom? God damn it, white suit Vision.
Well, so I'd say definitely check out his origin, the Vision Quest. Then follow up with his. Then follow up with the next story, Darker Than Scarlet. So that's the one that really shows Wanda just losing it, renouncing her humanity and embracing evil because she's tired of it. She's tired of a whole life where she's done nothing but help people, and in the end she has lost everything. So definitely we could try to see some of the remarks there, like how does a Vision who knows that his wife but doesn't really have feelings because he doesn't have feelings, how does he react to that? So I'd say check those out. Then, obviously there's going to be plenty of stories that will entail, but I would recommend to check out jump towards the end of the White Vision, quote unquote, and I would say check out Avengers 359 through 363. That's where we get this idea of, and we'll go into further detail, but where the Anti-Vision is created as a character, and he helps to restoring the Vision, at least in terms of pigmentation. And then there is a Vision miniseries back in 1994. It's a 4-issue miniseries, and good luck finding it right now because everybody in the secondary market is buying it. But this is definitely the storyline that brings Vision to actually gaining the brain patterns of a recently deceased scientist by the name of, let me see if I can find him again, Alex Lipton. So that might be a name to start researching right now. And that happens in Avengers Spotlight issue 40. But so he gains those brain patterns, and then eventually the Simon Williams brain patterns start to reemerge. So luckily some of his former memory and emotions come back. And that is basically the Vision 1 through 4 miniseries that restores him wholly internally and then in a brand new body, probably mixed with his older pieces as well.
So you know how in comic books after the movies did the black suit again, like for Spider-Man, the symbiote suit, we got Spider-Man comic books with him having the symbiote suit again. Do you think we'll be getting Vision in the Avenger comics or current Marvel comics in the white suit again?
I can definitely say so. Just because, like, when the Vision was premiered in Age of Ultron in that movie, they did a redesign of his costume that was, I like to call it busy looking. Like, there's definitely a lot more art to it. And so we saw the Marvel Now era of comics kind of adapt to that. So that was the costume you'll see in the Tom King Vision series. So I could definitely see them being like, hey, let's throw back to a all white out Vision costume. I could definitely see that happening, which I think the colorist will appreciate because that'll be pretty easy to draw to continue with.
And then he'll team up with Moon Knight and they'll do adventures together.
There you go. The Night Owls.
Now let's get into the main event, so to speak. In episode 7, we saw the debut of Monica Rambeau's powers. Now, in the comic books, we have known her as Captain Marvel herself, Photon, and now, most recently, Spectrum. What is her creation date?
All right, so we got to travel back to, and this is pretty wild. Her first appearance is in Amazing Spider-Man Annual Issue 16. So that has a cover date of, I know it's 19, here we go, October of 1982. So she's been with us for a good chunk of time.
Wow.
So yeah, she makes her first appearance there, and this was kind of interesting. I feel kind of robbed because I've known of her tangentially through her appearances all throughout the Avengers, but as I was reading about her origins, she's definitely very water based. So she was born and raised in New Orleans. She had her parents Frank and Maria. If I remember correctly, let's see here. Her mother was a seamstress, and her father was a firefighter. So she definitely kind of had, humble origins and very law-oriented. This definitely led to her becoming a lieutenant in the New Orleans Harbor Patrol. So she's very much water-based, but yet in the movies, they're going to have her air-based, with her being part of the whole Air Force and all that stuff, to more towards Carol's origins as opposed to her own. Mm-hmm. So I'm kind of, after learning all that, I'm kind of bummed. It's kind of like, oh, that would have been neat if they had kept that side to her, because that's going to play off very big in her adventures in her story here when we start really talking about her.
And looking to correct myself, a list of aliases that she's had in the past is not just Captain Marvel, but also Daystar, the Lady of Light, Pulsar, and Sun Goddess. So she has definitely gone through a lot of different aliases, different code names, so to speak.
Well, I'd say some of those are probably. I see the page you're looking at. I would definitely say those are just kind of like, oh, it's the sun god. Like somebody said it once. They're like, oh, let's give it definitely a shout out. But no, her definite names were, and it's funny learning the history. There's kind of a joke to it in the fact that sometimes she picks the names and sometimes the names get stolen from her. So. Her first appearance, Amazing Spider-Man Annual 16. She's investigating basically this group of people that are trying to build a big mass weapon of destruction. Turns out that it's powered by, let's see how they use the phrase here. Extra dimensional energy. So she winds up being exposed to the energy and then gaining her light-based powers. So it's actually the news media that dubs her Captain Marvel, which I found interesting because she really doesn't have any ties to the Kree or Captain Marvel. She just winds up picking the name, or actually winds up being given the name. And so she's kind of unsure about it. So she winds up traveling from New Orleans to New York, trying to get some help with her abilities, which leads her to Peter Parker and Tony Stark. At first, they do the classical trope of, oh no, here comes a bad evil menace, and they fight, and then they realize, oh, it's a young woman who needs help with her abilities. So they definitely help train her out. Ben Grimm, aka the Thing, is actually the one who explains the the name that is given to her. He's like, oh yeah, Captain Marvel was a Kree hero, but he tells her, this is where she kind of gets the blessing, because at this time, Captain Marvel himself has passed. He's like, Marvel wouldn't mind. I probably ain't the only thing in the world either. That's how the Thing sounds. So now she's got the full on blessing and she gets to be Captain Marvel. She holds on the title for quite a while. So she's created in 82. And then it takes us all the way until June of 96 when she finally becomes Photon. And this is because one of your favorite characters, Gennis Vale, he is born, and I always forget. I don't know if he's kind of almost like a clone child of Captain Marvel, the original. Mm-hmm. So those two wind up meeting, and she's like, you know what? You should be Captain Marvel. That's your father's name. Continue the legacy. And she becomes Photon. So now she's got that name, and that's how I originally had met her. So she had been Photon all the way until August of 2005, because in an issue of New Thunderbolts, she winds up running into Gennis Vale again, and this time he's been calling himself Photon. And she's like, fine. Take that name too. I'll become Pulsar. So now she's Pulsar, and that lasts until November of 2013 when she's gotten a huge power upgrade. So she decides to call herself Spectrum, and that will last until the cable company decides to go evil and take her on. But currently she is known as Spectrum, and that all began in Mighty Avengers #1 back in November of 2013.
Yeah, I remember the second time. I didn't realize it was Gennis Vale who took her name the first time, but the second time when he takes the name of Photon, which is what I mentioned earlier, I do think there is a conversation there where she's like, wait, you already took my first name of Captain Marvel. You want to take my second name? He's like, well, it makes more sense for me. It goes closer to my powers. And she's like, all right, whatever. Speaking of
whiny little alien.
Yeah, speaking of powers, we have an energy form. Due to the bombardment of extra-dimensional energies, Monica can transform herself into a form of energy within the electromagnetic spectrum. Among the many energy forms she has assumed and is able to control are gamma rays, X-rays, ultraviolet radiation, visible light, electricity, infrared radiation, microwaves, and radio waves. She apparently accomplished this transformation by mentally shunting the matter of her body into the dimension from which she draws her energy and replacing it with a corresponding amount of energy. Her mind remains in the dimension to control the energy parcel that has taken the place of her body. By assuming an energy form, she gains all the energy's properties. Monica is apparently unlimited by the amount of time that she can remain in her energy form. She can seemingly only transform herself into one wavelength of energy at a time, but she can transform between one energy state and another in a fraction of a second. As noted above, the limit to The amount of energy she can transmit through her body at a given time is not known. Extensive energy transformation and manipulation can be physically taxing once she returns to physical form. Appearance alteration, flight, superhuman speed, intangibility, invisibility, energy duplication, energy absorption, energy blast, hypercosmic awareness. Really? Hypercosmic awareness?
Yeah.
And eidetic
Well, because
memory.
now with her having ties to being I just had the proper word in my head, but with her being a light-based being, that puts her more in cosmic awareness, cosmic attunity. So, yeah, she's got galactic sense is tingling.
I mean, that kind of makes sense on if they decide to keep with the whole energy form idea of why she was able to make it through the hex bubble, as she would have changed her body or put her body into the other dimension while keeping her energy form. The energy was able to pass through on and making it so that she could fight Wanda, or at least keep up with her, so to speak.
Yeah. No, it's definitely like I hope that she had powers before. Like I really hope they don't try to say that Wanda was her power giver. I hope that they said that she has powers before, and that because it makes sense. Like obviously with the barrier being light, and her being able to go through it, I hope that kind of awoken her abilities. And that's why she's able to phase in and out of it, bombarded through it as a photon based being. So that definitely ties into it. So I'll be curious. I hope they keep it that way, that it was her powers before Wanda's hex.
So was it after the Ben Grimm said that it was okay for her to use the Captain Marvel name that she adapted the Captain Marvel star, even though it was on the white and black suit as opposed to a red and blue suit?
So I haven't read the issue myself, but I would definitely say because pretty early on she did have the whole black and white costume with the little star symbol throwback. So I'd probably say that once she was given the name Captain Marvel and once Ben Grimm explained the history to her, I think she probably would have designed it into the costume out of respect for Captain Marvel. So I'd say definitely that's probably why she has that connection through the learning of it.
Okay, cool. I honestly have not, other than those issues of with Janice Vell, I can't think of any stories that I know off the top of my head or that I've read. What do you have for Monica Rambeau?
So for my own personal experience, I definitely know of her through Avengers Volume 3. I remember her popping in and out of there. I thought she was a cool character, the light-based abilities. Obviously, as a Green Lantern fan, that's cool. One of my favorite moments of her is in Avengers JLA Avengers. I thought it was just such a neat symmetry. So when Kyle is realizing he's running low on power, so he charges his ring off a cosmic cube and then becomes a platinum lantern looking thing.
Mm-hmm.
So then Monica's like, okay, so she manages to actually, I think she did it first. She absorbs Green Lantern's energy, and then she kind of becomes like a Green Lantern Captain Marvel. So I was like, oh, that's pretty cool. I just thought that was really neat how she could absorb her powers that way. But if you're looking for great stories of her, like I said, I have a fondness for Avengers Volume 3 by Busek and Perez. But luckily, since her creators are Roger Stern and John Romita Jr., and this is John Romita Jr. art before what we've come to know it as, so it might be worthwhile. But I would definitely say Roger Stern had an amazing run on Spider-Man and the Avengers. But I would definitely say when Roger Stern was writing the Avengers, she got to be part of some amazing history. So she actually was in both Marvel Superheroes Secret Wars 1 and 2. So she's gone up against the cosmic disaster known as the Beyonder. She was there when they found the Jean Grey cocoon, so that was part of the events that led to the changing of the Dark Phoenix saga. She was also part of the team that had to regain the Avengers Mansion after Baron Zemo Jr. and his new Masters of Evil took and destroyed the Avengers Mansion and just beat the living hell out of the Avengers. So she was part of the team that came back and took the mansion. She stood up to Atuma, the Grand Master, and Kang the Conqueror. She's actually been one of the leaders, the Avenger chairman. So that's a huge thing. So she's definitely proven herself time and time again. So her Captain Marvel era is just amazing. It's just such a shame that when the title got taken from her, she kind of got resorted to a secondary character. But even then, once the Avengers came back after the whole Heroes Return, she got to work in some great stuff there. So there's parts where she was a big moment in the Maximum Security event, and also the let me see, what was that one called? I know I didn't buy it, but there was a Avengers arc where she teams up with Quasar, Living Lightning, and they basically kind of set up Avengers Far Out Space. So I'll have to see if that title comes up to me. But in her modern Avengers, modern adventures, you can definitely pick her up in when they did the short-lived Marvel Divas series. So it was basically kind of a Sex in the City for the Marvel universe. So we had something there. And that was kind of just a fun gathering of superheroic adventures. Let's see, what else was there?
Well, one that I thought, I mean, I know I haven't read it, but I know has done a lot for her more modern day adventures and storyline would be Ultimates, right? To me,
Yes.
Ultimates was the Avengers team from the Ultimate Universe, the Marvel Ultimate Universe. I understand that once they merged the Ultimate Universe and the 616 Universe, a new team calling themselves the Ultimates popped in. I didn't read the book, but it did seem like it was a team made up of pretty big characters. I see here, the current members are Black Panther, Blue Marvel, Captain Marvel, Ms. America, Spectrum, and their team leader is Ms. America, which is America Chavez.
Yeah, so they're an interesting team. So if you actually want to see their origins, go back to the previous volume of Mighty Avengers. Luke Cage assembled that team, and they were all together. They disbanded after I forget what event it was, but they disbanded, but then they were revamped as the Ultimates. And during the time as Mighty Avengers and Ultimates, that's when Monica started to form a relationship with the Blue Marvel. So they were hinting at them being a very power couple of the Marvel Universe.
I mean, I dig it. I think that, like I've said in the past, Blue Marvel is going to be a very interesting character that they bring into the MCU when they finally decide to bring him into the MCU. So I'm all for it.
Yeah.
That seems to be the rundown on the history of Monica Rambeau in the Marvel Universe. I only see them doing more with her from this point on. She's obviously a big hit in the TV show and was set up way back in the Captain Marvel movie as the young girl that she was. So I'm all for it. Whether or not they revamp Sword in the comic books is, I think, something that we're going to see going forward after this show.
Yeah, no, definitely. She's got a wide open future, so it's going to be very exciting to see what they do with her. I'm very hopeful and excited. All these characters, actually, there's a lot of great potential for them to go forward after this season, because the question is, will we maybe get another season of WandaVision or not? But there's definitely a lot for them to do. Before we do finish up some stuff, so there's two big ones, and good luck to you finders if you're going to try to get it. Back in November of '89, they did a Captain Marvel one-shot. So this is definitely like one of the premier comics that everybody's trying to get of her. And the reason why this is even more spectacular is the late, great Dwayne McDuffie wrote this one. And it has beautiful art by Mark Bright, a.k.a. MD Bright, a.k.a. Doc. He's one of my favorite artists. He was an artist on the early 90s Hal Jordan Green Lantern Adventures, so I love his art, so it's exciting to see that there. And then these two gentlemen rejoined again in February of 94 to make an issue 2, which was actually sold as an issue 1. But that was pretty cool to get them to come back. And so those two have been the big issues that everybody's trying to get, because that really spoke more towards Monica's growth as a character. So if you can find those, definitely pick them up. But if you can't, that's okay. Luckily, Marvel has created a one-stop shop book for you. It is called Captain Marvel, Monica Rambeau. And this will actually contain her first appearance in Amazing Spider-Man Annual 16. 2 major issues of Avengers, issues 279 and 277 and 227 and 279. So that's probably her joining and then eventually becoming the chairperson. A couple of issues of Marvel Team Up, the 2 one-shots that I just mentioned, Avengers Unplugged number 5, and then some material from Solo Avengers 2 and Marvel Fan for 42 and 57. So that's kind of a big smattering of some major moments in her history. But definitely check out Marvel Divas, Luke Cage. I want to say that's probably the Marvel Now era of Mighty Avengers. And then, as Mitch mentioned, the Ultimates, I want to say volume 4 or 5, that would lead to her being part of the major protection force of the Marvel 616 world.
Very cool. All right. If you have any more information on White Suit White Suit Vision, or Monica Rambeau that you'd like to give to us, reach out to me. I'm on Twitter. I'm at Mitchipedia. GEM stands for Geek Elite Media. Chris, where can people find you online?
You can definitely find me on Twitter as well. I am Stuff I Should Say, should being spelled SHUD. I was going to say, you can also check out some writings that I do. Definitely go to Geek Elite Media's website, geekelitemedia.com. I've got a couple articles over there. And then definitely check out some of my comic book reviews over at AIPTcomics.com.
The rest of Geek Elite Media is at Geek Elite Media on Twitter, at Geek Elite Media on Instagram, and Facebook.com/Geek Elite Media is our Facebook page. Check out archived episodes of this podcast and other podcasts on our network on our website, geekelitemedia.com. Check out our Patreon, patreon.com/Geek Elite Media, for exclusive material that you can only get on our Patreon. And whatever podcatcher you use, please rate and review us, because it helps spread the word of our network. But until next time, this is Imagine If on the Geek Elite Media Network, saying always remember to geek out.
Geek out.
This concludes our broadcast. Beep.